When the humans first appeared at our doorstep, we laughed. Actually laughed. Can you believe that? Me, Zorban Trell, Chief Security Advisor to the Galactic Senate, laughing at what would become our greatest nightmare. I adjust my breathing apparatus and stare at the recording drone hovering in front of me. The interview must continue, even as smoke billows from the shattered dome of what was once the most magnificent structure in the known universe. 62 cycles ago, our exploration fleet discovered their little blue planet in an unremarkable spiral arm. Just another world of primitive bipeds who had barely figured out how to leave their own atmosphere. Standard procedure dictated observation only, but Senator Quillax saw opportunity. The memory makes my third stomach clench painfully. Quillax, with his gleaming purple scales and that perpetual smirk, always the visionary, always the first to spot potential profit. You have to understand, the Senate had been facing resource shortages for generations. The Proxima conflict had drained our reserves, and the Andulian plague had devastated our workforce. When initial scans showed Earth was rich with rare minerals and possessed a large, adaptable population, well, the vote was unanimous. I pause, letting the drone capture the regret etched across my faceplates. Unanimous. Not a single dissenting voice among the 217 representatives. We all raised our appendages in agreement. Bring the humans into the fold, we said. They will be grateful for our advanced technology, we said. They will happily serve in exchange for protection, we said. A bitter laugh escapes my throat sac. 7 hells. Were we wrong? The initial contact was textbook perfection. Our ambassadors descended upon Earth's major population simultaneously, broadcasting messages of peace and cooperation in all their languages. We demonstrated our technological prowess, curing several of their most devastating diseases overnight, providing unlimited clean energy solutions, offering faster-than-light travel capabilities. Their leaders signed the treaty within days. The Terran Integration Act. Such a benign name for what was essentially slavery documentation. I shake my head, membrane nictitating across my eyes. We didn't call it that, of course. We called it mandatory service in exchange for galactic citizenship. 20 Earth years of labor from each human in exchange for our gifts. Their leaders believed they were securing a prosperous future. In reality, they signed away their species' freedom. Outside, another explosion rocks the remains of the Senate building. The drone briefly loses stability before righting itself. The first wave of human workers arrived at our processing centers with such hope in their eyes, 10 million of them, ready to be assigned throughout Senate space. I was stationed on Outpost Kepler at the time, overseeing security for the northeastern quadrant. The humans under my watch were assigned to the mineral extraction facilities on Draken. My voice drops lower. That's where I first noticed it. This peculiarity about them. Most species, when subjugated, fall into predictable patterns. Resignation, occasional rebellion followed by submission. But humans, they smiled, they worked, they learned our languages with astonishing speed. They asked questions, endless questions about our technology, our culture, our biology, and they watched, always watching. I tap my claws against the metal desk, the rhythmic clicking echoing in the small bunker where this final testimony is being recorded. Morektul was the first to raise concerns. Remember him, head of biological research, brilliant mind. He noticed the humans were adapting to environments we considered hostile without genetic modification. Their bodies simply changed. Slightly thicker skin in high radiation zones, increased lung capacity in low oxygen atmospheres. Small changes but impossible according to everything we knew about biology. The memory of Veterak's presentation to the Senate Security Council flashes through my mind. The data, the evidence, the warnings all dismissed. When Veterak persisted, he was reassigned to the outer colonies. Stop making trouble, they told him. The humans are our greatest asset. Don't jeopardize everything with baseless fears. Another explosion, closer this time. The lights flicker. 3 cycles passed. The human workforce expanded to 50 million. Productivity soared across Senate space. Our economy flourished. Several senators became obscenely wealthy from human labor. And still they smiled. Still they watched. I remember walking through the mineral processing plant on Draken'Zeth, inspecting the human workers. One of them, a male called Jake Harmon, approached me during a shift change. "Sir, he said, so polite, so deferential. "We have been studying your extraction methods and believe we have found a way to increase efficiency by 32%. I was skeptical but allowed him to demonstrate. The modifications were brilliant. Production increased exactly as predicted. Jake was rewarded with better quarters and reduced work hours. 2 days later, I found him teaching the improved method to other humans. But that wasn't all he was teaching. I lingered unnoticed and heard him explaining our technology in ways that weren't included in their training. They understood principles our own engineers had spent decades mastering. Yet these humans grasped them within months. The Senate dismissed my report. "Excellent," they said. "Promote the clever ones. Let them innovate. More profit for us all." I sigh heavily. A whistling sound through my respiratory slits. Fools. Complete fools. By the 5th cycle, humans had been integrated into every sector of Senate space. Manufacturing, agriculture, mining, even some administrative roles. They worked diligently, exceeded quotas, solved problems. The perfect workforce. That's when the accidents began. Small at first. A cooling system malfunction here, a navigation error there, a misplaced decimal in a critical calculation. Isolated incidents, easily explained away. But I noticed a pattern. Each accident resulted in humans gaining access to restricted information or technology. I leaned closer to the drone. I compiled the data, presented it to the High Security Council. "The humans are systematically gathering intelligence," I told them. "They are learning our weaknesses." Do you know what Senator Quilek said to me? "The memory still burns." He laughed, actually laughed. "Paranoid old Zorban," he said, "always seeing conspiracies. The humans are content, why wouldn't they be? We have given them a place in the greatest civilization in the universe." My fist slams against the desk. A place, as if being our servants was an honor. Outside, the sound of energy weapons discharging grows louder. They are getting closer. In the 6th cycle, the first true rebellion occurred. Station Gamma 9, a remote mining outpost with 300 human workers and 25 Senate supervisors. The official report claimed an oxygen regulator malfunctioned, killing all Senate personnel while somehow sparing every human. The humans sent distress signals, reported the tragic accident, and requested replacement supervisors. I shake my head. I went personally to investigate. Found no evidence of regulator failure. But I did find something else: modified communication devices in human quarters. They were coordinating with humans on other stations. This time the Senate Security Council listened. Restrictions were tightened. Surveillance increased. Human communication was monitored more closely. Too little, too late. The humans had 7 cycles of studying our technology, our methods, our weaknesses. They had embedded themselves in critical infrastructure throughout Senate space. And somehow we still don't know how they had established a communication network we couldn't detect. The next set of accidents was larger, more damaging, and more frequent. A power plant explosion on Nexus Prime. Navigational systems failing on 3 cargo vessels simultaneously. Atmospheric processors shutting down on Helios Station. Each incident precisely targeted. Each one weakening Senate control while strengthening human positioning. Still, the Senate majority refused to acknowledge the pattern. Isolated incidents, they insisted. Technical failures. Bad luck. I laughed bitterly. Bad luck. As if a species could have that much bad luck. By the 8th cycle, I had gathered enough evidence to force action. Special security teams were dispatched to key installations. Human workers were segregated, their movements further restricted. New supervisors were appointed, ones who wouldn't be charmed by human ingenuity or distracted by their seeming compliance. That's when we met Lane Donovan. The name still sends a chill through my spine ridges. Lane Donovan. Human female. 32 Earth years old, according to her file. Assigned as a technical assistant in the Senate's primary communication hub on Proxima Centauri. Average height, average build. Brown head, fur, green visual organs. Nothing remarkable in her appearance, but her mind, that mind was a weapon more dangerous than any in our arsenal. I first encountered her during a routine security inspection. She was recalibrating transmission arrays, hands moving with practiced precision across the control panels. Quite skilled for a human, I remarked, not expecting a response. She glanced up, those green eyes assessing me in an instant. "Thank you, Chief Security Advisor Trell," she replied. "I find your systems elegantly designed if somewhat inefficient." I was startled that she knew my name and rank. She wasn't supposed to have access to that information. "Inefficient?" I asked, more curious than concerned at that point. "Your quantum entanglement ratios could be optimized," she said casually. "Your current configuration wastes approximately 27% of potential bandwidth." She was right. Our best engineers confirmed it later. Her suggested modifications improved system performance exactly as predicted. I should have had her terminated immediately. My voice cracks with regret. Instead, I was impressed, intrigued. I authorized her transfer to the Central Communication Facility on the Senate homeworld itself. Another explosion. Much closer now. Dust falls from the ceiling. 2 cycles later, the coordinated uprising began. It started with communication blackouts. Planet by planet, system by system, our networks failed. Not catastrophically, but selectively. Military channels remained operational but were flooded with false information. Civilian networks broadcast evidence of Senate atrocities against humans, some fabricated, some unfortunately real. The humans had infiltrated every level of our infrastructure. They had studied our technology until they understood it better than we did. They had observed our society until they knew exactly where to strike for maximum impact. I remember the emergency Senate session. 217 representatives arguing, accusing, panicking as reports flooded in from across Senate space. Human uprisings on 57 worlds simultaneously. Senate military vessels finding their weapon systems mysteriously offline. Defense stations suddenly vulnerable to the makeshift fleet the humans had somehow assembled. And through it all, Senator Quellax refused to see the truth. "This is a temporary setback," he declared. "We have overwhelming force. We will crush this rebellion as we have crushed all others." A bitter laugh escapes me. He didn't understand. This wasn't like the other rebellions the Senate had faced throughout its long history. The Proxians, the Andulians, the Vega Collective, they all fought conventionally. Direct confrontation, force against force. The humans? They fought differently. In the command center, we watched in horror as human workers on our military vessels seized control. Not through violence, at least not primarily, but through technology. Overriding systems, locking out Senate personnel, turning our own security protocols against us. And leading it all? Lane Donovan. Her face appeared on communication screens across Senate space. That unremarkable human female with the remarkable mind. "People of Earth and her colonies," she announced. "Today marks the beginning of human liberation. For 8 cycles we have served. We have learned. We have prepared. The chains of the Senate will be broken." I was standing behind Senator Quellax when the transmission came through. I still remember his scales paling with fear. "To the Senate," Lane continued, "we offer terms. Recognize human independence. Withdraw from human-controlled worlds. Release all human workers. Do these things, and there will be peace between us." Senator Quellax found his courage then, or his foolishness. He opened a direct channel to respond. "Human," he sneered. "You forget your place. The Senate does not negotiate with servants. Your species signed the Integration Act. Your service is legally binding. This rebellion will be crushed, and the instigators will face justice." Lane's expression didn't change. Those green eyes remained calm, assessing. "Senator Quellax," she replied, "we hoped for wisdom. We prepared for its absence." The transmission ended. Within moments, the Senate building security systems activated against us. Blast doors sealed, environmental controls malfunctioned, and through it all, human workers who had been serving drinks and cleaning floors just minutes before produced weapons and took strategic positions. They had been there all along, watching, learning, waiting. The Senate's personal security forces fought back. The fighting was brutal but brief. By the end of that day, 183 senators were dead or captured. The others, including Quellax, barricaded themselves in the Senate's emergency bunker, this very bunker where I now record this testimony. For 3 days we held out. Senator Quellax still believed the Senate fleet would come to our rescue. He didn't understand that there was no more Senate fleet, just ships now controlled by humans or too damaged to function. On the 4th day, Lane Donovan herself approached the bunker. No weapons, no guards, Just that average-looking human female standing before the blast doors. Chief Security Advisor Trell, she called through the communication system. I wish to speak with you. Against Quillax's orders, I answered. What could we possibly have to discuss, human? The terms of your surrender, she replied simply. And perhaps, if you are curious, how we did it. I was curious. Desperately so. You have 10 minutes, I told her, and opened the outer door to the bunker's antechamber. She entered calmly, those green eyes taking in everything with that unsettling human intensity. You are wondering how we defeated the most powerful governing body in the known galaxy, she said without preamble. The thought had crossed my mind, I admitted. We used your greatest weakness against you, she explained, your certainty, your absolute conviction in your own superiority. I remember bristling with indignation. The Senate has ruled for thousands of cycles. We united hundreds of species, created peace and prosperity across 100 systems. There's subjugation, she countered, through treating other species as lesser beings. That was your first mistake with us. And what was our second? I asked, despite myself. Assuming we were like the others you had conquered, she said. Humans are adaptable, Zerban. It's our defining characteristic. We don't just survive environments, we master them. We don't just learn systems, we improve them. And we don't accept chains, no matter how gilded. I knew she was right. I had seen it happening and failed to convince the Senate of the danger. What are your terms? I asked finally. Unconditional surrender of all Senate forces, she stated. The recognition of human sovereignty, reparations for 8 cycles of forced labor, and a new galactic charter, one where no species dominates another. The Senate will never agree, I told her. They already have, she replied, and handed me a datapad showing that most surviving senators had signed the surrender document. Only those in this bunker remain. I brought her terms to Senator Quillax and the others. Their reaction was predictable. Never, Quillax raged. We will not surrender to servants. The Senate has ruled for thousands of cycles. We will rule for thousands more. That's when I made my decision. A decision that perhaps saved what remained of Senate civilization, though many would call me traitor. The Senate's rule is over, I told Quillax. The humans have won. We can either accept their terms or die in this bunker. Half the remaining senators sided with me. The others, led by Quillax, refused. I contacted Lane Donovan. Half of us accept your terms, I told her. The others do not. Those who accept may leave the bunker, she replied. They will not be harmed. As for the others, she paused. We will wait. I led the surrendering senators out. Quillax and his faction sealed themselves inside, certain that loyal Senate forces would eventually come to their rescue. Another explosion shakes the building. The closest yet, the drone wobbles precariously. That was 10 days ago, I tell the recording drone. The last communication from inside the bunker was 3 days ago. Their life support is failing. Soon the last holdouts of the old Senate will be gone. I look directly into the drone's recording eye. To any Senate forces who still resist, surrender. The humans are not cruel victors, but they are thorough. They control our infrastructure, our communication networks, our defense systems. The more you resist, the more you will lose. A final massive explosion rocks the building. The ceiling begins to collapse. The Galactic Senate voted to enslave humanity. Now the Senate votes no more. A new era. The transmission cuts off abruptly as rubble crashes down. Far above the ruined Senate building, in the command center of what was once the Senate's flagship, Lane Donovan watches the live feed end. She turns to her second-in-command, a tall human male with dark skin and piercing blue eyes. Did we get it all, Marcus? She asks. Marcus nods. Yes, General. Zarban's final testimony is secured. Good. Lane stares at the frozen image of the alien's face. He was the only one who saw us clearly. The only one who understood the threat we posed. Should we have eliminated him earlier?
Marcus asks.
Lane shakes her head. No. His warnings gave us valuable information. We knew exactly what security measures they were implementing. Besides, she adds with a small smile, his testimony will be useful. Future species should understand why the Senate fell. She turns away from the screen. Prepare for Phase 2. The Senate is finished, but there are other powers in this galaxy that might make the same mistake. Yes, General. Marcus responds, then hesitates. The captive senators are asking about the new galactic charter you mentioned. When representatives from other species will be included in governance, Lane's green eyes harden. Tell them soon. After we have secured our position. As Marcus leaves, Lane turns back to the view screen, now showing the ruins of the Senate building. The Senate voted for our chains, she murmurs. Now they vote no more. And humans? We are just getting started. The truth about power is that it's never truly gone, it simply changes hands. I am Kuztur, former Senate Intelligence Director, now Special Advisor to the Human Liberation Command. A fancy title for valuable prisoner who knows too much to kill but can't be trusted enough to free. 5 cycles have passed since the fall of the Senate. 5 cycles since humans rewrote the Galactic Order. 5 cycles of watching these bizarre bipeds expand their influence with terrifying efficiency. Recording active. Director Kuztur, please continue your assessment of current human activities for the Galactic Historical Archive. The drone hovers before me, its single eye unblinking. Another human innovation. They have modified our technology yet again, creating recording devices that can operate for months without recharging. Very well. I straighten my posture, smoothing my ceremonial robe, one of the few dignities they have allowed me to keep. The humans call this era the Reclamation, a rather poetic term for what is essentially a systematic dismantling of Senate infrastructure and redistribution of power. I pause, considering my words carefully. The humans review these recordings. After all, following the fall of the Senate homeworld, the human forces, led by General Lane Donovan, moved with surprising restraint. Many expected immediate retribution against Senate officials and worlds that had benefited most from human labor, instead implemented what they call the Transitional Justice Protocol. The memory of those early days still sends tremors through my secondary nervous system. The carefully orchestrated trials, the meticulous documentation of Senate abuses, the public testimonies from human workers. High-ranking officials who had directly authorized mistreatment of humans were tried and sentenced to labor terms equivalent to what humans had endured. A rather poetic justice, I suppose. Lower-level administrators who had just followed orders were given amnesty in exchange for cooperation, and those few, like myself, who had tried to warn the Senate about human capabilities, we were offered advisory positions. I emit a soft, whistling laugh. Advisory. As if they need our advice. As if they haven't already surpassed our understanding of nearly everything. Outside my comfortable but secure quarters, New Terra City bustles with activity. The former Senate homeworld, now the center of human governance, has been transformed. Where once stood monuments to Senate glory, now rise structures of human design, practical, efficient, yet strangely beautiful in their functionality. The most surprising aspect of human rule has been their approach to other species. The Senate subjugated. Humans integrate. Within one cycle they had established the Galactic Cooperative, a new governing body with representatives from all former Senate worlds. I still remember the first assembly of the Cooperative. 2,000 representatives from 300 species gathered in the vast chamber that had been built atop the ruins of the Senate Hall, and at the center, Lane Donovan, that unremarkable-looking human female with the remarkable mind, addressing them all. We did not fight for freedom only to become new oppressors, she declared. The age of dominance is over. The age of cooperation begins. Pretty words, noble sentiments. But I have spent too long in galactic politics to trust pretty words. Of course, the reality is more complex. I lean closer to the drone. While the cooperative votes on most matters, humanity maintains control of key military installations and strategic resources. They call it temporary security measures. I call it smart power consolidation. The drone bobs slightly, as if nodding in agreement. Still, I cannot deny the improvements. Productivity across former Senate space has increased by 38%, scientific advancement has accelerated dramatically, and perhaps most surprisingly, conflict between species has decreased by 62%. I shake my head, membrane flickering across my eyes. It defies conventional political theory. When the Senate fell, I predicted decades of chaos as power vacuums formed and old grievances resurfaced. Instead, the humans have somehow fostered actual cooperation between species that have hated each other for generations. Take the Volcrex and Jalturi, neighboring species, with a 1,000-cycle history of territorial disputes. Under Senate rule, we maintained an uneasy peace by stationing peacekeeping forces along their borders and playing them against each other. Within 2 cycles of human governance, they had negotiated a resource-sharing agreement and opened free trade routes. Their secret, I have come to believe, is their strange obsession with what they call win-win solutions. The Senate approached diplomacy as a zero-sum game. For one to gain, another must lose. Humans actively seek outcomes where all parties benefit. I pause, considering it's either brilliantly enlightened or deeply cunning. Perhaps both. The drone beeps, signaling a request for more specific information. Yes. Current events. 3 significant developments bear monitoring. First, the human expansion beyond former Senate space. Their exploration vessels have pushed into the uncharted regions at an alarming rate, establishing contact with at least 17 previously unknown species. This aggressive exploration concerns me. The Senate deliberately avoided certain regions of space due to ancient warnings about dangers beyond our understanding. The humans dismiss such caution as superstition. Second, their technological innovations continue at an exponential rate. They have completely redesigned faster-than-light travel, increasing efficiency by 300% while reducing resource requirements. Their new medical technologies have cured diseases we considered untreatable. And their weapons, I shudder visibly. Their weapons defy description. Not that they have used these weapons, aside from demonstrations, but their existence serves as a powerful deterrent against any thoughts of resistance. Finally, and perhaps most concerning, is Project Phoenix. I lower my voice, though I know the humans monitor everything I say. Some instincts die hard. Very little information has leaked about Phoenix. What we know is this: massive resource allocation, top human scientists, and construction of specialized facilities on 7 different worlds. The official explanation is a breakthrough in ecological restoration technology. Unofficial whispers suggest something far more significant. The drone hovers closer, recording my every micro-expression. My sources indicate it may be related to Earth itself. The human homeworld remains uninhabitable due to the Senate's final desperate act, the planetary bombardment that was supposed to crush human spirit, but instead galvanized their resistance. That decision, the Senate's last and worst mistake. When it became clear that humans were winning, a faction led by Senator Quelox authorized a devastating attack on Earth. Orbital bombardment, with radiation weapons designed to render the planet uninhabitable for generations. They believed destroying the human homeworld would break their will. Instead, it transformed a rebellion into a holy war. The response was swift and terrible. Human forces, previously careful to minimize civilian casualties, became merciless toward those responsible. The Senate officials who authorized the attack were hunted down and executed the only time humans abandoned their carefully structured justice system. If Project Phoenix is indeed an attempt to restore Earth, it would explain the secrecy. Such technology would be revolutionary and dangerous in the wrong hands. A chime sounds, signaling an incoming communication. The drone pauses its recording as my view screen activates. Director Kaz Tor. The face that appears belongs to Marcus Jansen, Lane Donovan's second-in-command. Your presence is requested at Central Command. I blink in surprise. My presence? Why? Marcus's expression reveals nothing. General Donovan will explain. Transport is waiting. The screen goes dark before I can ask more questions. Curious, I mutter as the drone resumes recording. I haven't been summoned to Central Command in over 2 cycles. 20 minutes later, I'm escorted into the imposing structure that houses Human Liberation Command. Despite my high-level clearance, I have only been permitted in certain sections. Today, my escorts take me deeper than ever before, through security checkpoints that scan every cell in my body. Finally, I'm led into a circular chamber dominated by a holographic display of the galaxy. Lane Donovan stands before it, studying swirling patterns of light that represent something I cannot interpret. Director Kaz Tor. She turns to greet me, those green eyes as sharp and assessing as ever. 5 cycles have added subtle lines to her face, a touch of gray to her brown head fur, but her presence remains commanding. Thank you for coming. As if I had a choice, I reply with the dry humor I have found humans appreciate. A slight smile touches her lips. There are always choices, Director. Some just have better outcomes than others. Marcus Jansen stands nearby, along with 3 other high-ranking humans I recognize. Admiral Laura Takeda, commander of the human fleet, Dr. Elliot Freeman, chief of scientific research, and Zara Okafor, director of diplomatic relations. Such a gathering of human leadership makes my primary heart race anxiously. Whatever this is, it's significant. You have been wondering about Project Phoenix, Lane says without preamble. I try not to show my surprise. I may have speculated in my recordings. Your speculations were partly correct, she admits. Phoenix does involve Earth, but it's much more than ecological restoration. She gestures to the holographic display. Show him. The galactic map zooms in, focusing on a sector of space. I immediately recognize the area surrounding Earth. But something is wrong. There's a distortion, a rippling effect that shouldn't be there. What am I looking at? I ask, my scientific curiosity overwhelming caution. Dr. Freeman steps forward. A dimensional anomaly. First detected 3 cycles ago, initially small enough to dismiss as an instrument error, but it's growing. The hologram shifts, showing the anomaly's expansion over time. At current growth rates, Freeman continues, it will engulf Earth's solar system within 2 cycles. Then it will continue expanding, eventually threatening this entire galactic arm. A cold dread settles in my stomachs. What's causing it? The humans exchange glances. It's Admiral Takeda who answers. We believe it was triggered by the Senate's attack on Earth. The radiation weapons used were experimental, designed to create cascading subatomic reactions that would render a planet uninhabitable, but they interacted with something on Earth, something we don't fully understand yet. The vault, Lane adds quietly. The term means nothing to me. What vault? When humans first achieved spaceflight and began exploring our own solar system, Lane explains, we discovered something on Mars, a structure not built by human hands, containing technologies beyond our understanding at the time. We called it the Vault. Dr. Freeman continues the explanation. The Vault contained information, scientific knowledge, star maps, and warnings. Warnings about weapons that could tear the fabric of reality itself. We were still deciphering these warnings when the Senate found us. I feel suddenly unsteady, reaching for support. The Senate did not know about this vault. No, Lane confirms, we kept it hidden. It was our ace in the hole, our secret advantage. We had begun adapting some of its technologies when we were discovered by Senate explorers. The vault's knowledge gave us our edge, Marcus adds. It's how we were able to learn your systems so quickly, to adapt and improve your technology. But we never anticipated that the Senate's weapons would interact with the vault's power source, which was buried deep beneath Earth's surface for safekeeping. The implications stagger me. So this anomaly is a tear in space-time, Dr. Freeman confirms grimly. And it's growing. Project Phoenix, Lane says, is our attempt to seal the breach. But we have hit a wall. The technologies required are beyond even what we learned from the vault. I look around at their faces, suddenly understanding. You need Senate knowledge. Lane nods. The Senate existed for thousands of cycles, encountering phenomena throughout the galaxy that humanity never did. Our researchers believe the Senate may have encountered similar anomalies before. And you think I would know of such encounters? I ask. As intelligence director, you had access to the most classified Senate archives. Marcus points out, including records deemed too dangerous for general knowledge. They are right, there were archives, ancient records from the earliest Senate days, restricted to only the highest levels of leadership. There was something, I admit slowly. References to the Great Sealing, an event from the earliest Senate history roughly 7,000 cycles ago. Most details were lost, but it involved containing what was described as a wound in reality. Hope flashes in Lane's eyes. Where would records of this be kept? The deep archive, I reply, beneath the ruins of the Senate Hall. If they survived the destruction, they survived, Marcus interrupts. We have located the archive but haven't been able to access it. Senate biometric locks. Now I understand why I'm here.
You need me to open it.
Yes, Lane says simply. Will you help us? I consider my options, though in truth, there's only one rational choice. If the anomaly continues growing, all life in this sector is threatened. I will help, I agree, but I want something in return. Lane's eyebrow raises slightly. Name it. The truth, I say. The complete truth about the vault, about humanity's origins. No more secrets. She studies me for a long moment, then nods. Agreed, after we seal the breach. 2 days later I stand before the massive quantum-locked doors of the Deep Archive. They are intact, despite the destruction that consumed most of the Senate complex. Some technologies are built to survive anything. I place my hand on the scanner, feeling the familiar tingle as it reads my genetic code, brainwave patterns, and cellular memory. Access granted, announces a voice in the ancient Senate tongue. Welcome, Intelligence Director Koster. The massive doors slide open with a hiss of preserved atmosphere. Beyond lies the accumulated secret knowledge of 7,000 cycles of Senate rule. Remarkable, breathes Dr. Freeman beside me. A perfect preservation system. The human team follows me into the vast chamber. Crystalline data storage units line the walls, each containing thousands of years of observations, experiments, and classified information. The records on the Great Ceiling would be in the Founding Era section, I explain, leading them deeper into the archive. As we walk, Admiral Tactata asks the question that must be on all their minds. Why would the Senate keep knowledge of how to seal these anomalies secret? Wouldn't that be vital information to preserve? The Senate, I explain, operated on a need-to-know basis. Knowledge was power, and power was carefully controlled. If a solution existed for these anomalies, it would be restricted to prevent it from being used as a weapon. A weapon? Marcus questions. If you know how to seal a breach in reality, I point out, you might also know how to create one. Understanding dawns on their faces. We reach the Founding Era section, the oldest and most restricted part of the archive. Here, data crystals glow with an inner light. Technology so ancient that even I don't fully understand how it works. Here, I say, approaching a specific crystal, records of the Great Ceiling. I place my hand on the interface, and the crystal projects its contents into the air before us. Ancient text in a dozen extinct languages scrolls past, along with diagrams of devices I have never seen before. Dr. Freeman's eyes widen. This is incredible. Some of these principles align with theories we developed from the vault's information, but taken much further. For hours, the human scientists pore over the information, translating, analyzing, debating. I assist where I can, but much of this knowledge predates even Senate understanding. Finally, Dr. Freeman looks up, his expression both excited and troubled. We can do it. We can seal the breach. But what? Lane demands. It requires a specific element, he explains, something called quintessence in these records, a form of matter that exists at the boundary between dimensions. Can we synthesize it? Admiral Takeda asks. Freeman shakes his head. No. According to this, it can only be harvested at the breach itself. Silence falls as the implications sink in. So someone has to go into the anomaly. Marcus states flatly. Yes, Freeman confirms. A ship would need to enter the breach, harvest the quintessence, and then use it to power the sealing device. From inside. A suicide mission, Lane concludes quietly. Not necessarily, Freeman argues. These records suggest a properly shielded vessel might survive the process, though it would be displaced. Displaced where? I ask. Another dimension, possibly, or another part of our universe. There's no way to predict. Lane's expression hardens with decision. Prepare the mission. I will pilot the vessel myself. Protests erupt immediately from her commanders, but she silences them with a raised hand. This is not open for debate. Earth was my home. The vault was my responsibility. I will see this through. In the days that follow, human technology merges with ancient Senate knowledge to create something unprecedented, a vessel designed to travel between dimensions. They name it the Phoenix. Of course, humans and their symbolic name. I'm permitted to observe the construction, providing insights from the archive records where needed. The ship is small, just large enough for one pilot and the necessary equipment. Its hull incorporates materials I have never seen before, likely derived from the vault's technology. On the 7th day, as final preparations are made, Lane Donovan fulfills her promise to me. In her private quarters, she reveals the truth about the vault and humanity's origins. The vault wasn't just a repository of advanced knowledge, she explains. It was a message, left by the same species that seeded life throughout this galaxy. They called themselves the precursors. Seeded life? I repeat, struggling to comprehend. You mean all sentient species in this galaxy, including humans and your kind, were engineered by the precursors? She confirms. They traveled the stars millions of years ago, planting the seeds of life on suitable planets, then guiding evolution toward intelligence. I sit heavily, my worldview crumbling. The Senate origin myths. They always suggested we evolved naturally, as did human myths, Lane says with a small smile. The precursors designed it that way. They wanted each species to develop independently, to find their own path. Then why leave the vault? I ask. Her expression grows somber. Warning. The vault contained information about threats they encountered, including the dimensional breaches. They left tools for us to defend ourselves when we were ready. And humanity found this vault before achieving interstellar travel. That seems convenient. It wasn't coincidence, Lane admits. The precursors left similar vaults on specific worlds throughout the galaxy. Earth was one. There should be one on your homeworld too, hidden somewhere, waiting to be found when your species was ready. The implications are staggering. Does this mean the Senate bombardment of Earth was not just a crime, but a catastrophic interference with some grand design? Perhaps, she says quietly, or perhaps it was part of that design. The vault record spoke of trials, of proving worthy through crisis. Maybe this is ours. The next day, the Phoenix is moved to Earth orbit. Despite the radiation and spatial distortions, instruments can be positioned safely at a distance to monitor the mission. I stand in the command center with the other human leaders, watching as Lane boards the vessel. The breach is visible on the monitors, a swirling maelstrom of distorted spacetime, beautiful and terrifying. Phoenix launch in 5 minutes, announces the calm voice of Mission Control. Marcus approaches me, his expression guarded. If this works, it changes everything. Senate knowledge combined with precursor technology, a powerful combination. I agree. What will humanity do with such power? He studies me for a moment. Build, explore, learn. Isn't that what the precursors intended? And if you encounter other species who haven't found their vaults, who are still developing, I challenge. Will you guide them, rule them, or will you become the new Senate? A smile touches his lips. Neither. We will be neighbors. The cooperative model has worked well so far, don't you think? Before I can respond, Mission Control announces, Phoenix launching now. On the main screen, the small vessel accelerates toward the breach. Lane's voice comes through calm despite the circumstances, approaching breach perimeter. All systems nominal. Harvesting array ready. The Phoenix crosses the threshold, entering the swirling chaos. For several moments, telemetry continues to stream back radiation readings, dimensional metrics, quintessence detection. Quintessence harvesting initiated. Lane reports, her voice now distorted by interference. Collection at 60%, 80%, collection complete. Cheers erupt in the command center. Initiating sealing sequence, she continues, device powering up. You should see effects in 3, 2, 1. The breach visibly changes, the swirling chaos contracting rather than expanding. It's working, Dr. Freeman exclaims, pointing to his instruments. The dimensional tear is closing. Phoenix status, Marcus demands. A technician shakes her head. Signal lost. She's gone. Silence falls over the command center as the breach continues to contract, finally collapsing into nothingness with a flash of energy that briefly outshines Earth's sun. Breach sealed, reports the technician, voice hollow, no sign of the Phoenix. Days later, a memorial service is held for General Lane Donovan. Representatives from every species in the cooperative attend, honoring the human who first freed her people, then saved the galaxy. I watch from the sidelines, still processing everything I have learned. The Senate, the precursors, humanity's rapid rise, it all fits into a pattern I'm only beginning to understand. After the service, Marcus Jansen, now the leader of humanity by unanimous vote, approaches me. The Cooperative Council has approved a new initiative, he informs me, Operation Lighthouse. What does that entail? I ask. Teams will be dispatched throughout the galaxy to locate the remaining precursor vaults. Not to claim them, he adds quickly, seeing my expression, but to protect them until each species is ready to find their own. And who decides when a species is ready? I challenge. He smiles, that same enigmatic smile Lane often wore. They do. We are simply removing obstacles, starting with information about their locations from the Senate archive. I consider this, you are playing a dangerous game, human, interfering with the development of other species. Not interfering, he corrects, just clearing the path that was meant to be there. The Senate's control disrupted the Precursor's plan, we are restoring it. As he walks away, I'm left wondering if humanity truly understands the forces they are dealing with. Or perhaps they understand better than anyone. 1 month later, as I record what may be my final testimony for the Galactic Historical Archive, news arrives that shakes the galaxy once more. A signal, detected at the edge of charted space. A signal from the Phoenix. Lane Donovan is alive, somehow transported across vast distances rather than killed in the breach collapse. And she's discovered something beyond imagining, a vast network of precursor installations, spanning multiple galaxies. As humanity prepares an expedition to recover their lost leader and explore this new frontier, I find myself revising my assessment yet again. The Galactic Senate voted to enslave humanity, believing them just another species to subjugate. Now the Senate votes no more, and humanity stands revealed as perhaps the most important species in the galaxy, the ones who will fulfill the Precursor's mysterious plan. Whether that plan brings enlightenment or destruction remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. The chains the Senate voted for have not only been broken, they have been reforged into something new, something that might, against all probability, be better for us all. I, Castor, former Senate Intelligence Director, now witness to the dawn of a new galactic order, will sign off for the final time. History will judge us all.